All righty. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. So great. You know, I have to tell you, I was thinking there's pretty much a group for every kind of organization on the planet. But where do the nobodies get to meet? Where's our
Right
group?
here.
Right here. Who said that? Who's getting the gold star?
I did.
Yeah. Who said I did?
Stephen, right here.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Stephen.
We're the nobodies.
Yeah. Oh, let's let Joyce in. So this is freedom, but for nobody. It can't be owned. And that's what the me is constantly trying to do, is grab on, hold on. I want to find freedom, and then I want to clutch it. And this activity of seeking is endless. That's the depressing news of Satsang. That there is no solution for seeking. None. You're always going to end up right here where you started. Have you noticed that? You never really get anywhere. And it's the me that thinks it's very important to get somewhere. Like in a dream, you could have a dream about like being a business person with all these goals and ideas, but it's all happening in the dream. It's not real. Freedom is already free. It doesn't need any doing or fixing because it's already here. It's already everything. It's just our minds that have a story going, saying, oh, this isn't how it should be. It doesn't suit me. I don't like it. So that's my personal dream. The me lives in a world of shoulds and shouldn'ts. This should be happening. This should not be happening. Let me let Joan in. Okay. So that's why the me is always exhausted. Can anyone relate to that? Anybody have a me that's exhausted? I hope so. Because if you got spunk, you're in the wrong room. You will lose spunk. I'm telling you, when this is seen, it's not that the me goes, it's that it was never actually there. And you'll see how much work you did when you took yourself to be that me to prove yourself. So this message is you can't get it and you can't lose it. How you like them apples?
You can't not be.
Yeah, right, exactly. You can imagine you're not, and that's the seeking, right? So if I imagine and I feel separate, then of course I'm going to seek. But that's coming from the assumption that I am lacking. That's what that seeking energy is. The me feels separate and incomplete. So naturally it's going to seek. Nothing wrong with that. But it might be too painful for you. That's how it was here. It just got too painful. It wasn't worth it. Nothing could bring happiness, not just temporary. So now you know why I say there's no teaching here at this satsang, because there's just what's happening. Look at that. How could that be a teaching? There's just what's happening. And if the me says, well, I'm not there yet, then that's just what's happening. But it doesn't mean anything. It's not true, because there is no there to get to. See, that's the illusion. That's the trick. It says it's not here, so it must be there. And it keeps doing that same trick over and over, like Lucy and Charlie Brown holding the football. Every time Charlie would go up to kick that football, she'd pull it away, end up on his ass. But we do the same thing as the me, right? The me keeps trying. You know it's not going to work. You already know it, but you just can't help it, right? It's just this compulsion. So can you just be here with the compulsion? See it for what it is.
It reminds me of that Chinese finger game where you stick your finger in and the more you try to pull out, the more stuck you get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the seeking. So the more you seek, the more it eludes you. But the paradox is you can't stop seeking. If that's the thing, you didn't start your seeking, so you can't stop your seeking. You can just recognize that it doesn't apply to you. You never move. So this is movement and non-movement simultaneously. And another thing I was thinking about right before our call was that everything is both it, right? So everything is it. So do you like my orange? No, this is not COVID. This is my exercise ball. And this is it. This is oneness. This is oneness right here. This pad is oneness. This computer is oneness. There's nothing that's not it. Okay? Everything is it. Everything is it. But you know what? This ball, this exercise ball, isn't it. This is not it. It's just the exercise ball. This pad, this isn't it. How could this be it? How could this pad be everything? Do you guys see the paradox? Everything is it, and yet nothing is it. And that doesn't give you any ground to stand on. What are you going to do with that?
Go crazy.
All right, who just volunteered themselves? Is that you, Alice? You want to get some? You have a question You want to be bright? Let's look at it. Listen, guys, we only get an hour a week, man. If you got a me going, what do you got to lose? Let's look at it. Let's investigate. So what's the objection?
I don't understand it, and I guess I can't understand it. And it just sounds kind of weird that this is it and this is not it. But a part of me understands that, Michael. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's because there's only it. So that's why everything's it.
Only it.
If you have a pie and you break it up into little pieces, everything's still the pie. Even if you break it up into apparent little pieces, it's still the same pie. So
Yeah.
I'm saying everything that's appearing here is it, but that's the paradox, is everything that's appearing that you could point to, any particular object, is not it. Because how could you say this is everything? But yet you couldn't say that it's not everything. It's meant to be a paradox, Alice. It's not,
Yeah.
You can't figure out the mystery. Go ahead.
Right, right. Well, what I was practicing with this week, and it seemed to be helpful, is within this, well, I have feelings coming up. And so I really tried for the first time to really, well, in a long time, to really sit with the feelings without labeling them or calling them anything or trying to get rid of them. Just really sitting with them and feeling them. And that seemed to be helpful. Sometimes when I tell myself I'm not a me, or some of the things that we say here, it just it seems true. I know that this me has created so many problems for me, but it doesn't. It seems maybe heady, and I don't know how to make that fall into alignment with my heart when I am feeling feelings. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. No worries. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with feelings. It's the stories that we create around the feeling that get us in trouble. Feelings are just arising spontaneously. You're not doing them. They're just showing up. But then the mind creates a story because it thinks it knows the source of that pain or that see, this is not knowable, Alice. You don't know anything. And if you think you do, that's the me. And that's suffering. If you think you know what this is, because remember, it is it and it isn't it simultaneously. It's everything and nothing, which is not knowable. And the mistake is when we think we know what it is. You're sunk. As soon as that's because the first thing you know is that I am, right? As a baby, we're born and we know that we exist, right? I am, I exist. That's your first knowing that you exist. And from there, that's the basket, everything's added. Once you know that you exist, then you can exist as this, that, and the other. I exist as a child, I exist as a brother, I exist as a friend, all these layers and layers and layers of story. But the initial assumption that you exist is never questioned.
Michael.
Yeah, Ron.
Okay, so I have pain, suffering that I think I know is from wishing. It's insanity because thinking, oh, I wish I had done something in the past. And I can't stop thinking about that. And it causes pain. And the crazy part is I know that it already is, and there's nothing I can do about it, nothing can change, but I just keep torturing myself, you know?
Yeah. So, and this is for everybody. So right now in this moment, what do you know? Just now.
When I think I don't know anything, it's really nice. When I don't know anything, it's great, but I always think I know. And it just sucks.
So listen to the question though. What do you know?
No, I don't know anything.
Stay there.
I really liked, Michael, when you said, when you were describing whatever, the indescribable, you said no ground to stand on. It leaves you with no ground to stand on. And I think hallelujah, because having ground to stand on seems to be the cause of all my suffering.
Oh, bravo. Yeah. So how does that hit you? If having no ground to stand on is like Faith is describing it, or as I would, as hallelujah. Because everything else is knowing. And you can see the trouble. Is the problem with no, I was thinking, some of you are probably too young, but do you guys remember the Lay's potato chips commercial? They said you can't eat just one. That was their slogan. Okay, it's the same with knowledge. I was thinking that. I was like, you know what? You can't know anything without wanting to know something more.
What's really got me in a tailspin is I don't know what to believe about this whole COVID thing. I have heard from one end 180 of possibilities, and like I surrender. I have no, I like I have nowhere to stand. I just I don't know anything. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
But true, I don't know is not suffering.
It's freedom.
That's right, Ron, because I don't know doesn't object to whatever's arising, because you don't know that it shouldn't be happening.
And at the same time, when the body is pulling you that strongly in constant pain, it's how do you notice anything else? I mean, maybe for seconds, right? You find that, Ron, that you might find seconds of peace and no pain.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking like, I'm using the word God, but whatever, God's will, it's all God's will. And I'm like, really? This is God's will that I should be in pain all the time? And that's okay. Uh, on some level, I say, yeah, that's right. And then on the other level, I can't accept it.
Can you just be with the pain and not have a story? Can you just absolutely feel it and even be it?
I tell you what's interesting, and Michael, maybe, is that I forget I forget every second.
Mm.
It's like I always hear women who have, when you give birth, women are set up to forget about the pain so they'll have more kids. That made any sense.
Ron, do you have a fan on or something over there?
No, that's not me.
Okay. Let's see, because if I mute you, yeah, if I mute you, for some reason it stops. So I don't know. Not sure what that is. Anyway, but unmute yourself, jump in. Don't let me, sorry about that, Ron.
So Michael, what would you say to Ron about that? I want to hear it.
Yeah. So there's still an objection. There's still only what is. And if not liking what is what's happening, Ron, which it sounds like it, Ron doesn't like the pain, then that's what's happening. There's nothing wrong with that. If the guy's in a lot of pain, what the hell? Seems natural that he would, I mean, can't argue with that. You're going to do your best. Take your medicine, notice the body doing what it can to comfort itself, reach out to your friends, get your resources. But at the end of the day, there's just what's happening, and it's not up to you because there is no you.
Yeah, is it it's something about accepting or being accepting the resistance as part of what is?
Well, exactly. Yeah, the resistance can arise too, and the resistance is it too. Because again, there's nothing that's not it. It's one of the hardest, as far as concepts go, just to even wrap your mind around that there's only it, and it can appear as literally anything. So a rose is it, and cancer is it. Both are it. It's the stories that say one is bad and one is good. Without the story, it's all life. And it's
No,
not, I just say the last part, Faith, it's not personal. And that's the problem with being a me, is it takes everything personally, and that's the suffering, because there is nothing personal. Nothing is personal. Go ahead, Faith.
I had a precious experience a few days ago where something went wrong, and something like went wrong, like, you know, the me got upset. And I would call that something got wrong. I got triggered to get frightened and do something, and somehow something came in, some awareness came and said, in between the happening and the story I was making up about it, something got in between it. It showed me that I was boom into the story like a rocket. That was so precious because shit, I'm doing the story thing.
Yeah, it is a good feeling when you bust yourself. Guys, really, it's so wonderful when you catch yourself in story. It's like the best because you know you were believing it. You were so sure it was true. And suddenly you come to see,
Well, it's like an automatic response. It was like, I've been doing that all my life, making up stories about whatever. And then just a few days ago, boom, I got that moment of separation.
well, no, it's the opposite.
Oh,
The separation is the separate me that thinks it's independent. When that is no longer there, then there's just the oneness. There's just the, well, there's
yeah.
not, we can say not two. So this is non-duality means not two. And the me is a claim of separation. The me is a claim of two. There's me and there's the world that I know. You see, I know that I am. And once I know that I am, now I got to know all of these things about the world to keep myself safe. And it's an endless job and there's no peace in it. Life is doing everything. You've never done anything.
including thinking thoughts and telling yourself stories.
Right. Right. So even the stories aren't you're doing. The ones that you say are triggering you, those aren't yours. They're just happening spontaneously, like a cloud, like a storm moving in.
Michael, all these things are, if I experience that, I feel wonderful and peaceful, and it makes life a lot easier. So why is it so difficult? Why wouldn't we all want to, let's use the word believe, things that make us feel free?
Because the me is energy, and energy doesn't want to die. Energy always wants to live. So the contracted sense of me, here's the rub, you guys. The contracted sense of me doesn't care about you. It doesn't. It doesn't care if you're happy or you're sad. As long as you think you're the me, that's all it cares. When you stop being so interested in you, because notice, even when I was depressed, depression, I finally saw, oh my God, that's still about me. I'm depressed. Oh, woe is me, how sad the world is, how me, 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 me. Holy cow. So there was no space for anything else. There was no space for the wind or the clouds or the sun or the flowers or the butterflies, because the me took up the whole screen, me and my problems. Anybody else?
That's the whole situation with death, and the whole story about death is and as a me, the me is afraid of dying. And as we're even told that story, that you're going to die sometime. And basically it's the whole fear, the whole situation of the story about you not being here. So even pain is sometimes maybe, so you can just feel that you still exist, that you are. And it's the scariest thing at all, or whatever, the hardest thing to really see is that you don't exist. I don't exist. You know, it's almost impossible to get your head around, whatever.
Yeah. And ironically, Stephen, it's exactly what the me is looking for. The me is so afraid of death. And if it only realized it didn't exist, it wouldn't have to fear death.
Very true. Yes.
It's just because you think you exist as a something. And because all somethings are time bound, they have a limited duration. So this body is time bound. So this body will go. So if you think you're this body, then you have to suffer. I'm sorry. There's no way around it because the body is limited. But if you realize you're not this body, first of all, has this body not been changing your entire, does this look anything like it did when it was 5 years old? Come on.
Doesn't have my permission to change.
Yeah, I don't think it cares about your permission, Joan. So there you go. Everything is changing whether you like it or not. That's the me. That's the plight of the me. If you object to something, life doesn't give a shit. Yeah, you can see here at this Satsang, we don't give the me much respect. We don't, because it gets respect everywhere else. You know, it's like Rodney Dangerfield. The me, it's so funny. The me's going around to all the other me's trying to get respect, and that me's doing the same thing. So that me actually doesn't care about you. All those me's out there, they care about themselves, their own problems and stories. Yeah, they'll give lip service to yours. They'll, but at the end of the day, if we're being honest, everybody cares about their own horse in the race. But the funny part is there aren't any. It's all imagined. So we have all these wars and fighting, and it's all the one playing all the roles. Everything is it, guys. The wind, the leaves, the birds, the sounds, my voice. This is it right here. This is everything speaking. Nothing is what you think it is. See, you think something is what you think it is. So you think this pad of paper is just a pad. It's not. You're just looking at the label. Oh, I know what that is. It's a pad of paper. That's how this illusion works. It's like a facade, like a movie facade. It's just showing you it's taught you through knowledge, words. And because you know the word, you think you know what it is. You don't. But that's not bad news. I'm telling you, the freedom you're looking for is in the not knowing. It's not in knowing. If it was in knowing, we would have found it by now. Some of us have been seeking for a long time, or as the kids say, a hella long time. And maybe you're done. Maybe you're done. Maybe you can, how much more seeking do you have in you? Are you not convinced? You still think the world can give you what you're looking for? Do you think future? Ron, he's so honest. Just want to pinch those cheeks. Well, that's honest, though. You got to be honest. I admire that. So yeah, if you still think the world has something for you, then you got to go for it. We're the last. Who is it? Neil Dunham was saying, he had a satsang the other night on nothing.fm, and it was called The Last House on the Block. And that's kind of what this is. This is the last house on the block, meaning this is after you've tried everything else. I want all the rejects, all the ones that just the incorrigibles. What's the one in prison where the worst of the worst? I want the ones that have torn it up. You've tried drugs, you've tried money, you've tried sex, you've tried relationships, you've tried control, you've tried everything you could think of, and none of it's worked. Now you're ready to begin. Sorry, must be the coffee.
Michael, drugs help a little bit because they stop the brain from a little bit.
Yeah.
As Eckhart said, the first whiskey is good.
Yeah. Do what you need to do, guys, to take care of the body, because you're not the body. Just do the best. The body has a wisdom. There's a natural intelligence. So you'll know if you're thirsty or hungry or in pain. Do the best you can. But at the end of the day, the body is going and you're not the body. You're not. Anybody else? Comments or questions?
I have an observation.
Hi, Peter.
Hi, Michael. I often in the past, when I would listen to statements being made, the response or the experience, the response would be, yeah, I understand all that and I'm totally in agreement, but that's not how it works, or just, like, well, but it always drops back. And the observation is that lately, Like, I'm sitting here listening. The but is not coming as much at me. It can sometimes, it's also, the why is kind of like a precursor or a worse form of the but. It's like why. So when these questions are not coming as much, or I'm just not as much like interested in, they're not sustained as much, and that helps more with the presence, or with just being here and resonating with what is being said.
Yeah, but Peter, the message is nothing's knowable.
So the honest answer is, quite often I listen to what is being said, and it's almost, I'm sometimes I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. So just stop. Don't do anything with it. Exactly. I could see you over there squirming like, it's like, I want to do something with this information. What do I do? No, you stop. You realize, what do you do when you look down and you find out you're holding counterfeit money? Completely worthless. You ever done that, by the way? You ever got like no offense to Canadians, but like a Canadian quarter in your change? Like here in America, I've gotten, and they don't quite fit in the washers. They're a little different size. And I'm sitting there going, this is worthless. So you can see there's no energy on it. As soon as it's seen as counterfeit, it has no value. So what I'm saying, Peter, is your thoughts, you're trying to figure this out. When I say there's just nothing being everything, it can't be figured out. And that's the illusion, that it can't. And as long as you think you know what anything is, that's imagination. It's not true, because nothing is knowable. It appears to be knowable, but there's no way to say what anything is, because you can't get outside of this to know what it is. How would you know what this is if you can't separate yourself from it?
That was actually what I tried to convey as the observation, and then I kind of slid into some other stuff. But that's, that this urge, there's less of an urge to figure anything out, because I can't.
Yeah, there you go. That wasn't so hard.
That's cute.
No, it's understandable, because we've all been rewarded for figuring stuff out since childhood. Go to school, do good, get a good grade, get a gold star, get a treat. So you've been conditioned and you've been programmed that knowledge is good and more knowledge is better. And the one with the most knowledge is king. But this is unknowable. How can you know everything? Right? Think about all the things that you know. Think about it. Just all the people, the countries, facts. It's endless. It's just this sea of knowledge. And here's the thing. It doesn't, see if I can say this. Right now, this moment seems like it's on a continuum, doesn't it? Right? Like you have a sense that you came from somewhere and now this is happening. And then when we're done with the Zoom call, there'll be something else that will happen. No. This is just spontaneously happening. It has nothing to do with what just came a second ago or will come in a second. Anything can happen at any time. It's all spontaneous. There's no rhyme or reason for this. The story is just between your ears. That this came from somewhere and going somewhere is just a story that you're telling yourself. The reality is there's no proof for that. There's literally just what's happening. And if you don't like what's happening, that's what's happening. So there's no way around it, right? If you're not happy with what's happening, that's what's happening. If you are happy with what's happening, that's what's happening. If you're bored with what's happening, that's what's happening.
The paradox is that you're neither happy nor unhappy, actually. You're just aware of seeming happiness or pain or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just aware of it, but you know that's all you.
Right.
That's all there is. It's just what you're aware of.
Right. But the illusion is, see, if it's all seen as the same, so happiness and sadness, although they show up differently in effect, and I want to use the word source, but that's not quite right, but I'll just say it, is so there's the source for everything is the same source. So that's why pain and pleasure have the same source. That's all story, by the way. But it illustrates my point that in our mind, something we like is good and is one kind of thing, and something we like is bad and a different kind of thing. There's just appearances. So, like if you shined a light through a stained glass window, right? If you shined a flashlight through a stained glass window, it's one light. It's the white light from the flashlight. But what happens when it hits all the different colors? Kind of like Yoon with your rainbow afro, your spacey rainbow afro. It's all one picture, but it's got this explosion of color. And so every moment is like this explosion of everything, and no one's doing it.
I also like the idea that this is a dream without a dreamer. Then you can see, like, from that idea or whatever, those words, there's a dream, you know, when you're dreaming, it's the everything, okay? Whatever is in the dream is the everything.
Yeah.
It's all somehow from source or from whatever. I know it's hard to say what.
Yeah. I like mystery.
Oh, me too. Very much.
But it's not a mystery that can be figured out because, I mean, I was a magician and a chess player for a lot of years, and my mind loved to figure stuff out. So magic tricks, how do they do it? And chess, how do I solve the problem? So I understand all the eggheads here that are really intellectual because me too. But I saw that it didn't lead anywhere eventually. I finally it left me. I didn't do it, but I just suddenly something clicked and I went, oh, this can't be figured out.
That's what's so wonderful. That's the unknown. And that's the mystery of it. That's what's so delicious about it, actually.
Beautiful.
I got a new appreciation of the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour.
Hmm.
With Yoon, yeah, with Yoon's background.
You know, it landed with me. I was like, oh, that's what they were talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
But again, Stephen, you're talking about not knowing. The mystery is magical when it's not known, and you know that you don't know. So then it's magical. But if you think you know, it kills it.
Totally.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to convey here at Satsang. The thinking you knowing isn't doing you any favors.
It's sort of thinking that we know reinforces the illusion, and it's just further knowing and more, being in trap of the illusion. And it's more difficult to get out of it.
Yeah, it's the addiction to story. The me is addicted to story. Just can't quit story. And here in this moment, the moment doesn't need a story. So if the moment doesn't need a story, then neither do you.
I've been thinking about how you said last week that the me is a whingy, whiny little something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And when I hear myself, what's going on in my head, a couple of times I've said to myself, "Oh yeah, that's that whingy, whiny little thing that Michael talks about."
Yeah.
I don't
Good.
have to pay attention to that.
Very good, Faith. So that's beautiful, because that's a lot different than identifying with it.
Mm,
And in the past, we would identify with that voice.
mm.
So that's very good, because if you can start to notice that whiny voice in the head it's not only that it's not you, it's never been you. You're not the voice in the head, and you never have been. So that's what I mean about giving up the addiction to story, even though you can't do that. It's freedom from needing a story in this moment. What is it like? What would it be like to be here right now without a story?
Peace.
Space.
Freedom.
Joy.
Any last comments or thoughts before we close out this evening?
I have something that's kind of in line with what everyone is talking about, that I started thinking about thought as just another human sense, like sight or touch or sound or smell. We're not what we smell. We're not what we see, but we think we are our thoughts. And if you just put it in that category of a sense to perceive the world around us and try to navigate it, just like touch or sight, it loses its power and the story falls away. So it's not something that I realized and it just clicked, and I live there now. But every time I get lost and I hear that little voice, I remind myself that it's just a sense trying to perceive the world around me.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Wait, are you saying that you realize that your thoughts would be like a sixth? So we normally think about the five senses, but we can include thought as maybe a sixth sense?
Yeah, and that's the context that I came upon it in, was ancient Egypt hieroglyphs, somebody referred to the Eye of Horus as representing the six senses.
Yeah.
And like, holy crud, 4,000 years ago.
Yeah.
They had it figured out, and here we are.
Yeah.
Thinking that it's something more than that.
Very good. So that's I think that's really, you know, that can lighten the load, because you never really thought of thinking as just another sense, as another, like an information center. So your visual, your eyes give one piece of information. I get to see what things look like, color, audio, right? That's information, right? Auditory information. Well, thought is story. So that's like another avenue of commentating on the colors and the sounds.
Yeah.
But it's not you, it's just a story. So that's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with story. Stories are actually more beautiful when you're not in them. We love stories. But the problem is we think they're real. So stories are only fun when they're seen as stories. When they're seen as real, they're suffering. Because it becomes my story. Let me tell you about my story and all its troubles, says the me. So that's what the me's do, is they run around complaining to each other, and then they feel better because they get in groups and support each other's beliefs. But that's not what we're talking about at Satsang. We're not talking about trading one belief for another.
Yeah, that's when you're in a victim mode. I recognize that a lot of stuff that goes on is about feeling like a victim.
Oh yeah, well the me, well Faith, that's the me in a
Yeah.
nutshell. Every me
Yeah.
feels like a victim,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Dan and I used to use a word aggrieved at Satsang. Say the me is perpetually aggrieved. It's always got a gripe, and if it doesn't have a gripe, just wait.
Yeah. So you look at the television newsy type interactive things where people are discussing issues that are important. I think there's a lot of feeling like a victim there, and what needs to happen so I'm not feeling like a victim. And
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. It's endless. That's the thing to get. This me complaining business is endless. There's no freedom in that. The me will always come up with things it can complain about. It's never, it's never just right for the me.
In AA, we used to say, pour me a drink.
So I want to thank Kim and Alan and Faith for the donations. Much appreciated. Thank you to everybody for coming to Satsang. I really appreciate all of you coming here. I will do my best to get this up on YouTube in the next 24 to 48 hours. And I'm always available if anybody would like to reach out or interested in privates. Thank you, everybody, so much for coming.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Nice seeing
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.